one vision, one identity, one community. This is the essence of the ASEAN partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the opening ceremonies of the third ASEAN Plus 3 Forum on Probation and Community-Based Rehabilitation. Obviously, the principle of neighborliness is happening today, and the Philippines is honored to host this year's ASEAN Plus 3 Forum.
Revolving on the theme assessing and developing strategies in community-based corrections towards rehabilitation and reintegration of offenders among ASEAN Plus 3. And as the proud host, we give you the Honorable Mayor of Tagaytay City, Honorable Agnes B. Tolentino, for the welcome address through her representative, Honorable Councilor Violeta C. Para.
In an article entitled Navigating the Hidden Obstacles to Ex-Offender Reentry, written by Anthony C. Thompson, I have read and I quote, "Instead of expecting individual ex-offenders to navigate their transitions back into their communities without help, the legal community needs to give them the tools that might better guarantee success." On behalf of the city government of Tagaytay, its officials, and the whole citizenry, we warmly welcome you to Tagaytay City. Thank you very much for allowing us to partake in this worthwhile undertaking. A pleasant morning to all. God bless us all.
And to formally open the third ASEAN Plus 3 Forum, here is the Honorable Administrator of the Parole and Probation Administration, Honorable Manuel G. Ko.
While the ASEAN integration is in full swing, the initiative to accelerate the system of the probation and community correction is seriously gaining ground through this ASEAN Plus 3 Forum. The theme of this year's conference, Assessing and Developing Community-Based Strategies in Corrections Towards Rehabilitation and Reintegration of Offenders among ASEAN Plus 3. The ASEAN Plus 3 Probation and Non-Custodial Measures Cooperation come to birth with purposes. One, the ASEAN Region Plus 3 is a collective powerhouse that may usher the connectivity of each country towards one direction, which is the establishment of strong ties among member countries that may lead further development in probation and non-custodial measures. Second, it shall be a venue for sharing the strategies, innovations, and challenges in the system for benchmarking best practices and exchange program that may enhance knowledge sharing and capacity building of the implementers. And it will serve as an inspiration for each country members to be motivated to enhance more and promote community corrections as an effective measure of crime prevention. This forum is a milestone and will certainly enhance the treatment program of community offenders in our jurisdiction. Now, the strong ties between and among ASEAN Plus 3 can be sustained, and that individual country efforts to uplift the quality of community corrections will certainly be recognized. We have encountered challenges and opposing issues against our common advocacy. But I assure, in the end, non-custodial measures shall be unquestionably recognized as a vital foundation that brings back our lost brothers and sisters to the folds of law and order. My prayer is that ASEAN Plus 3 will become ASEAN and 3 Plus in the future. As host of the third ASEAN Plus 3, I now declare the conference open. Thank you very much and good morning.
To speak on the ASEAN economic integration and its impact on probation and community-based corrections, we present a highly respected management and real estate consultant, Dr. Eduardo G. Ong.
The Asian community has political security blueprint, economic blueprint, and sociocultural blueprint. And I understand that in here, in this forum, we will be discussing security. It will be aligned to the security blueprint. I was so happy when Administrator Ko mentioned about roadmaps. It is important that the Philippines must prepare a roadmap and must benchmark and compare with countries in the region. Like us in our profession, in the Professional Regulation Commission, we benchmark in the 3 countries, the most developed countries in ASEAN. And what are they? Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. And so under the ASEAN sphere or the ASEAN context, we tried to look into how we can get the best assets. We can look into how they perform, not necessarily copy, but innovate and make ourselves our own version of the blueprint. So in our 46 regulated professions under the Professional Regulation Commission, we prepared 46 roadmaps so that we can align to the development of ASEAN. I know that this 3rd summit will bring good and fruitful output, which will later on perhaps be converted into a workable outcome so that we can all benefit from this. And remember, as my parting shot, let me tell you that in this time and era of ASEAN, we have to be connected. We have to talk. We have to learn cultures, study idiosyncrasies of people so that we can best understand each other and move forward to not only to the economic development, but as well as the other areas that ASEAN can excel. So remember, we are Filipinos and we are all ASEAN. With that, I think I would like to challenge the participants in this fora, in this summit, that to sit down, ponder, and look into how ways and means that we can probably put our act together so that in our subject, which is the parole and probation and community development, we will all be together. Remember, we are 650 million by 2020, and we have to give our best shot. I think that's a challenge to the participants, and I guess you will all succeed in your worthy endeavor of giving impetus to our subject.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Department of Justice Undersecretary Francisco Baraan, the in charge of the correctional pillar of the Department of Justice, like the Parole and Probation Administration and Bureau of Corrections, to introduce to us our keynote speaker.
Thank you. Our keynote speaker is the most distinguished alumna of the San Beda College of Law. And she graduated one of the 10 bar top notchers. I mean, when she took the bar, she was among the 10 bar top notchers. She's a top law practitioner who is specialized in election law. She was former chairman of the Human Rights Commission. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Laila M. De Lima, Secretary of Justice, Department of Justice.
Well, I of course extend my warmest greetings to the delegations from the 10 member countries of ASEAN and those from Japan and South Korea. I understand that this is the third of such conference, the first two having been held in Thailand. Your conference host, the Parole and Probations Administration, or PPA, headed by Administrator Manuel Ko, is an attached agency of the Department of Justice, and let me take this opportunity to commend the untiring efforts of Administrator Manny Ko and the PPA staff. Can you please rise, PPA staff, all the members of the PPA, in preparing for and now hosting this third edition of this forum. This is such a momentous event for all of us. Kudos to all of you. This forum will provide the participating countries an opportunity to share and discuss effective measures on how to redirect the approach in corrections from a purely punitive to the rehabilitative and restorative paradigms. It is one thing to say and believe in the importance of rehabilitation and restoration of offenders, and it is quite another to actually find the right, effective, and efficient ways to achieve these goals. But I believe that we will not go astray for as long as we remind ourselves that we are not dealing with statistics or facts and prison data printed on paper, but we're dealing with human beings. I wish everyone a fruitful, productive, and memorable conference. Mabuhay. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now, the overview on the implementing guidelines in benchmarking best practices in parole and probation administration. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the Honorable Administrator, once again, Honorable Manuel Ko.
I will discuss with you how the Parole and Probation Administration benchmark its best practices in the implementation of the Probation and Parole Rehabilitation Program, which paved the way in rectifying the errors of the offenders and proved their worth as human beings and as members of a peace-loving society. This implementing guideline is formulated by the PPA, by our agency, to come up with a uniform implementation of the programs and services by adopting the best among the best practices among the regions. Just to give you a few sample categories and outcomes of benchmarking. We have the balance and restorative justice. We called it RJ. We called it community justice. We called it peacemaking encounter through the application of this, what we term as peacemaking encounter model. Second, we have the therapeutic community ladderized program. We called it TC. Therapeutic community was introduced to the agency by the U.S. State Department through its training provider, the DATAP New York, which was an institution-based program Originally, its application, although in a community-based setting, follows completely the prescription of data. But after several years of pioneering application and learning the weaknesses and strengths of the program, TC metamorphoses into TC community-based program. The third is our volunteerism. We called it volunteer probation aid. But at present, we have, there is now a bill, and hopefully it's now with the bicameral committee in the lower house and in the upper house, strengthening volunteerism. So we sponsored bill to be able to strengthen our volunteerism. And then we have the integrated allied social services. One of the built-in initiative of the best practices of the agency is the inclusion of minor children and minor dependents of clients of the agency in the agency program. The intention here is to put a stop to the cycle of criminality and delinquency in the family. Field practitioners, through networking with the local government units, civil society, non-government organizations, as well as government agencies concerned with children, are tapped to help the agency in identifying the needs and dreams of these young children who, if not properly assisted, may end up following the trail of their recognized parents who have once deviated from the right path. Now, the agency encountered a lot of challenges, one of which is the ignorance of the process. And the second is identifying best in class or other suitable benchmark partners. We have also we encountered problem on resource constraint. Then we have data comparability. The problem of recording, documenting best practices. The agency has to improve the system of recording. And then overcoming confidentiality issues from either benchmarking partners. And then recognizing and allowing for performance differences arising from non-transferable process input elements, as to cite example, employee skills, knowledge, the organizational structures and culture. And then lack of documentation. This is similar to data comparability. This is also another area in which we have really to look continuously. And then we have stop resistance. Okay, this is another area where we encountered a lot of problems. Now, these are our challenges. But these challenges becomes opportunities for the agency to exert more efforts for the sake of the people and the public we are serving. Thank you very much, and God bless.
And today, I'd like to focus on UNAFE's activities, particularly for promoting community-based treatment for the purpose of developing international cooperation among ASEAN countries on treatment of offenders. The United Nations Asia and Far East Institute for Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders, and it is a United Nations Regional Institute established in 1962 by agreement between the United Nations and the government of Japan. UNAFE's main activities are to hold international training courses and seminars for criminal justice personnel from around the world. UNAFE holds an international course focused on the treatment of offenders every year. The process and procedure in order to participate in UNAFE's international training course and senior seminars. The international training course and senior seminars of UNAFE are financially supported by JICA, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency. JICA assists and supports other countries as an agency responsible for Japanese official development aid, we call ODA. UNAFE's international training course and senior seminars are carried out as a form of multilateral technical assistance of Japanese ODA. Japan creates an ODA task force here for each country that is targeted for ODA. The task force is composed of officials from the Japanese embassy, the local JICA office, and other local staff. Around around July or August, each ODA task force is informed of JICA's programming for the upcoming year. Certain programs are selected based on the needs of each country by the ODA task force. If UNOFACE international training courses and senior seminars are selected, the local JICA office informs the government via the coordination agency in each country. The coordination agency is different in each country. After the coordination agency informs the related ministry or organization in your country, the related ministry or organization may apply to JICA to participate in UNOFACE courses. This inquiry procedure is usually conducted around July to August. If your agency doesn't have any information by July or August, please contact the local JICA office in your country or relevant agencies in charge of JICA's programs.
So today I'm going to be talking about the situation of foreign offenders in Thai probation services and needs for the ASEAN cooperation. So even though the majority of our clients are Thai offenders, it's about 1 to 2% is the foreign offenders. And these foreign offenders are from Asia, from Europe, and North America. And the trend is it's increasing over the year. So from 2004 to 2015, which is this year, the number of the foreign offenders under our care is tend to rise up. All right. So the majority of the foreign offenders in our care are drug addicts. So as you can see, it's rise up from over 1,000 to 1,600, and this increasing about 58%. The second rank is the adult probationer. So we used to have like around 500, and last year we have 722. So who they are, where they come from. So this is only for the supervision. Oh, this is for the 2014. We have the investigation case. This is also the pre-sentence and post-sentence investigation case. The supervision case. This is like we have the adult here, juvenile here, and parolees here, and the drug rehabilitation case. So the statistics show that the most of the foreign offenders are from Myanmar. Right, in every group we have the Myanmar is the top one. Okay, and other nationalities include stateless, Lao, Cambodian, Chinese, English, Indian. We also have like Russia, American. We also have some years we have from the Philippines, from the Singapore. We have all of the country in the ASEAN region, but it's lower. And the statistics also show that most of the foreign offenders are in the province around the border of Thailand. It's because our country next to Myanmar and Laos and Cambodia, so that's why we have a lot of the foreign offender from that country. And what did they do? Oh, okay. And what did they do that make them arrested? So the type of offense that the foreign offender convict from 2013 to 2015, the top three are traffic-related, drug-related, and property or other acts. They also have, we have offense against life, reckless driving, and Forest Act, and perhaps some documents. Okay, so that's about the situation of the foreign offenders in Thailand. And even though the number of them might be small compared to the number of Thai offenders, but this number is expected to be rise up when we are actually integrated to the ASEAN community. Therefore, to cope with the challenges in dealing with the foreign offenders, Department of Probation of Thailand needs to internationally cooperate with other ASEAN member states. So these are the three needs that we come up with. The first one is the possibility of referring the foreign drug addicts to their home country. The second one is sharing offenders' profile. And the last one is the sharing statistic of foreign offenders. So I would like to conclude this session by saying that to address these above needs that I just mentioned, the Thai Department of Probation would require the help and support and cooperation for all of you. And given the fact that we still have a lot of work to do, we believe that with support from the ASEAN member state, the community-based measure in the ASEAN region could be well developed in the near future. Thank you.
The paper that I am be sharing with you this afternoon is about developing international cooperation among ASEAN countries on treatment of offenders, basis, legal framework, needs for interim and transfer of supervision. A regional cooperation or agreement to place probationers or parolees on courtesy supervision or transfer of supervision abroad would be useful to offenders as they find ways on how to improve the quality of their life. They might consider getting jobs overseas as one way to achieve their personal goals, or they might consider a new life in another country would do them good. If through this means they can be mainstreamed back to normal life, then affording them these opportunities would be an effective treatment and deterrent to reoffending. Assuming that a regional cooperation would indeed come out, it is anticipated that any country of the ASEAN may send its probationers or parolees on courtesy supervision or transfer of supervision to the receiving country. On the side of the Philippines, parole and probation system, its rules and procedures covering courtesy supervision and transfer of supervision within the country can be expanded to accommodate ASEAN referrals for courtesy and transfer of supervision to the Philippines. Indeed, mutual challenges in terms of client mobility to other countries may be faced by the ASEAN community, which calls for regional cooperation. But the challenges for crafting the legal and institutional framework for the regional cooperation would be great, considering our diverse legal processes. However, a regional cooperation must start with looking into the congruence of the system of probation and community-based corrections of each member country of the ASEAN. From there, the legal and institutional framework and structures that will be established can address the regional needs of the ASEAN along this area. Each country could then strengthen its mechanisms to be able to contribute to the achievement of the ASEAN integration. In the event that this will materialize, it would indeed be a step to a more meaningful cooperation.
We learn the rules and duty of volunteer probation officer, like conducting post-sentence integration, and sometimes we making home visit and provide aftercare. And now we join the activity when Ministry of Justice have program to the country or the province in Thailand.
I would like to deliver the topic about development of strategies and policies that affect the probation and non-custodial measures in reforming offenders. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the Indonesian criminal justice system and treatment of offender, the rule of correctional is very strategic. The rule of correctional starts since the phase of investigation, prosecution, examination, jurisdiction until treatment in correctional office. and also aftercare and parole and probation board.
Offender rehabilitation in Japan has been supported by the active participation of citizens. Preventing reoffending is a major issue in terms of reducing crime and building a society when people can live safely and securely. To this end, the extensive involvement of citizens is essential. In this regard, I firmly believe that practices of volunteers, such as volunteer probation officers and cooperative employers, are effective in many ways for the rehabilitation and reintegration of offenders, and these volunteers make a significant contribution towards the goal of a crime-free society in Japan. However, the activities of these citizens have not been easy because difficulty in finding appropriate community resources for probationers and parolees. Recent challenges in community-based treatment have led to the initiatives such as various programs to provide job opportunities, housing, and social welfare services with parolees and probationers in cooperation with public and private sectors. It has become more important that the practices of the citizens should be supported by government as well as the community.
I have been assigned a topic to discuss with you, that is development of strategies that affect probation and non-custodial measures in reforming offenders. We can recall to mind that the main focus or objectives of community-based corrections or non-custodial measures are rehabilitation and reintegration, cost effectiveness, community safety and protection through offender control. Now we can look again at some familiar practices that impact on offender rehabilitation. One is economic sanctions. For instance, civil indemnification is probably one of the hardest conditions to implement, especially fines that are due to the government or to the state. So we can probably come up with a policy, perhaps by legislation, regarding means-based fines. In other words, we can probably impose socialized fine. Now, for restitution, could we say also means-based? But if you are the victim and your defender is an indigent, would you be happy to receive very minimal amount? Maybe what we can do here is means-based payment schedules. Now, going to community service, we can probably think of community service as a sentencing option. The present policy is that in the Parole and Probation Administration, the community service is incorporated in the daily, in the regular therapeutic community activities, including participation in the local community activities. However, you can also pursue community service as a sentencing option. You know that the cost of litigation and administration of a jail penalty would be high, so probably you can just fine them, especially minor offenders, meaning offenders with less grave offenses, with community service. They can just probably render free labor to the community after some free time, and still they can still attend to their familial duties, still work, still earn for the family, and the family are not unduly penalized. Okay. On parole, we can probably push courts to mete out more indeterminate sentences instead of straight penalties or fixed-term sentences. Probably good development in the Philippines is the enactment of the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law, where it amended some provisions of the Penal Code, which allows early release or shortened service of sentence for good behavior. These are all what I've been mentioning are really offender-centered strategies. We can also pursue other strategies other than those directed to the offenders. In other words, we should not only concentrate on measures or interventions to address the client's deficiencies. We can also pursue victim-centered strategies. What are these? Victim-centered strategies. These are, in other words, we let the victim exercise some due diligence to make him a hard target. This is target hardening measures. The other would be environmental or ecological centered strategies. What are these? This would include CCTVs, lighted streets, or you can redesign the structure of the community. Another strategy would be community-centered strategies. This would include neighborhood watch, community controls, foot patrols, drug watch, crime watch, and so on. Or volunteer citizens that act as the eyes and ears of the police. So we have to be aware. Now, these strategies are significant because our offender clients, being community-based or non-custodial, live precisely in these communities, and observance of these measures will help in reshaping or reforming the behavior or attitude of the client to recommit crime by reducing opportunities for misbehavior.
My topic this afternoon will be on the improvement of government's responsiveness to the probation and non-custodial needs, particularly in these topics on increased resource allocation, manpower training, study grants, construction of halfway houses, and employment opportunities. As to the current government intervention or policies for ex-offenders, the government has policies and legislations that ensure that our ex-offenders can be given a chance in our society. In an article by Yanko in 1992, the national government, through the local government code, devolved responsibility for the provision of basic services, together with the corresponding funds, manpower, and other resources to the local government units in the provinces, cities, municipalities, and the barangays or the villages. This signaled the change of responsibility from the national agencies to local government units over the provision of basic social services. Included in this devolution is the management of the community-based services along with the socio-economic development of families within the local government's area of responsibility. Local government units have therefore taken primary roles in the alleviation of poverty among their constituencies, the promotion of peace and order, and socio-economic development in their areas. The challenge is for the government to increase allocation for probation and non-custodial needs, provide employment opportunities, and construction of halfway houses. At the initial stages of interrogation, detention, and investigation, therefore, an offender must be seen not only as an individual whose criminal behavior needs to be contained or curtailed, but also as a person in an especially difficult circumstance who should nonetheless be helped in facing their problems and coping with life's realities. Hence, the government should be more responsive to the probation and non-custodial needs, especially on the areas of resource allocation, manpower training, study grants, and construction of halfway houses, and employment opportunities. And if possible, contain such response in legislation. Thank you.
Halfway house are meant to assist the offender in various aspects. First is to home those who are homeless or need help with adjustment to living in the community. Second is to support mental recovery or rehabilitation process. Lastly, Halfway House aims to promote vocational training or education to provide residents with better career opportunity. 2. Reintegrating offender into the society scheme to help offender with transition from prisons or detention centers to the community.
At this point of time, may we hear an insight from Mr. Deon Van Zyl, Judge of the High Court of South Africa and former Inspecting Judge of Prison and representative from the International Penal and Penitentiary Foundation. A round of applause, please.
The important thing is here you have an extremely well-organized and well-managed conference. I must congratulate the organizers on a job very well done. I think it was magnificent. From last night's, we call it a meet and greet, you know, and a fellowship evening. That was wonderful. I mean, to come here to the sound of that orchestra, that band, you know, and those dancing girls, I thought, this is just too great for words, you know. I immediately sent messages back home just to tell them what I'm experiencing. They hate me for that, you know. But the long and the short, it was really good, and we had a wonderful meal, and the get together last night, and the talks were really inspiring, and then the Honourable Manuel G. Coe. He has been such. Where is he? Where are you, Manuel? He's been a fantastic host over here, and we really enjoyed him. Last night with the introductions, and then today again when he spoke in his opening remarks on probation, parole, and administration. And then Dr. Eduardo Ong. That was really a superb speech. And isn't it wonderful his relationship that he has with the administrator, Mr. Ko? I thought that was fantastic, and that reference they made. And then also, of course, the giving of the awards. I thought that was really a very, very wonderful idea. Congratulations on that, Dr. Ko. I think you did a great job, and it was a great speech. And then our keynote address. Now, when I saw Secretary of Justice, I didn't really realize that that's what we would call the Minister of Justice back home. And she was quite superb. I sat here listening to the lady, and I just thought, she is so in control of what she says and what she does. And you know that you are under really good guidance and leadership. Having somebody like that to come and share her thoughts with us, I thought that was really inspirational. So congratulations to you all. Congratulations to the leadership here in the Asian countries for what you have managed to achieve. And I think also congratulations are due on behalf of all the people who are affected by this hard work that you are doing. You are sitting in jobs where you are considering probation and parole, and where you are involved with the lives, not just of offenders, but also of their families and of their communities. And I think that is the wonderful thing which we have experienced over the past day and a half. I can't believe it's just a day and a half. It feels like a week. You guys have really been keeping us busy, haven't you? And that's the way it should be. But it's been a fantastic 1.5 days to achieve that. I wish you really well for the future of this association and for the future of everybody who is affected by it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And now, to complete the day's activities, we give you, for the closing remarks, our Deputy Administrator, Lorna Umol.
As we formally close this activity, we open more doors to offer our commitment to this community of nations, particularly in the field of non-custodial measures. Together we stand hand in hand with our regional counterparts in corrections as we traverse the road to a successful implementation of the ASEAN +3 roadmap. The Parole and Probation Administration in the Philippines is committed to this cause for regional cooperation in the development of non-custodial measures as rehabilitation and treatment tools for offenders. With the ASEAN +3 roadmap as our guide, we are optimistic that it can sustain and upgrade collaboration in the region for the development of effective treatment of offenders. As a region, let us enhance our passions and be driven to make things happen for our growing clientele. We won't settle for anything but the best for the ASEAN. Let us strive for spectacular results and aim for the extraordinary. Let us all be convinced that we can pursue our roadmap. We can raise it to the highest level. It can be done. But tonight, let me conclude this forum with the belief that success doesn't only refer to money, status, rank, or fame. Success emphasizes not what is outside of us, not the distinction between a rich or a poor country, but what is rare among people of different races, having one unified goal for its constituents, one that is so much like the ASEAN.